Chair quilting. Remember to keep fluffing your quilt as you go. You don't want any weight on the quilt. Always have your needle down when you do that, and fluff your quilt top where you can get a good run of sewing on it. Now I've gotten all of the basic quilting done with the walking foot. I have secured on each side of my border, and now I'm ready to draw on my border so I can do some free motion quilting. So now we want to look at some of the tools. You can take anything such as a circle or square or anything that you want to make lines that come out evenly, but make sure you start on either end and work to the middle so you can make sure your pattern works out evenly. I'm going to use stencils today. This is a stencil set that you buy and you use the chalk pad with it. It is 2 inches wide. My border happens to be 4 inches, so that works very well. You can use different size stencils. I also have a water washout pen. I'll have to wet this quilt to get this out, but I need it to make a few guidelines. I'm going to start at this end over here and make a line right where that seam line would be. And then go over here and make a line. Now, I'm going to take my washout pen, and if I did every line, I want to come out to the center of this one. So this is my midpoint because I've got 2.5 blocks on either side. So that's my midpoint. I want to pretend like I have marked. If I did normally, I would come to there and then line it up there. I'm going to be just a little shy because there's my blue mark and there's the last line on my stencil. So what I have to do is scoot it over each time until I come out right. So I'm going to make my center line correct. And then I'm going to slide it this way a little bit to make the next line. And slide it this way a little bit to make the next line. And slide it this way just a little bit to make the next line. And then one more time. And this line will line up with that mark I made before. So I know after that I'm good. So then I can come back this way and start making my marks. And then bring your stencil down just to make sure they're going to overlap right. And they are. So now I have all the blue lines on this half. I'll do the same thing on the other half. Then I'm going to take my lines and turn them long ways. And I'm going to mark the center all the way down. And I'll show you why, because of the pattern I'm going to make. Now when you get to the corner, you want to make this corner a grid too. So you just continue on down, flipping your template until you get all of your lines in there. And I'm going to wind up with one long line down the center and then a line every 2 inches. And we're going to do clamshells on the border of this quilt with our free motion quilting foot. I have attached the free motion quilting foot to my machine. Sometimes it's called a darning foot or a spring-loaded foot, but get the one that fits your machine. And I've loaded that on. Now we're going to take our quilt top. And I don't like to start in the very corner. If you're going to mess up, let's mess up along the way somewhere, and people won't notice so much. We're going to take our free motion foot and position it over the edge of the quilt. And go down and bring up your thread and pull them both out from underneath the free motion foot. Then we're going to go back in that same place. Now if you have a way to lower your feed dogs, do so at this point. You do not want to have feed dogs and the free motion foot. The whole point is you're not having the quilt pull through the machine, you're doing the moving. Now what I want to do is to make little semicircles in a certain pattern, and we're going to call it pumpkin seed. That is the term for it. So we're going to go, now mash with your foot and get kind of a steady rhythm and slow down just before you stop. You'll start to get a rhythm with this. If you pull faster than your needle is going up and down, you'll break your needle. So you kind of have to get the feel of it, and you may want to do this on a scrap fabric sandwich. Take a piece of muslin and some batting and some more muslin and layer and pin baste it just like we did and practice on that. And you can draw anything you want. If you draw on your quilt with a water washout pen and you don't like it, you spray it with water, overnight it dries, and you start over the next morning. So don't think you've ruined your quilt. Now I have gone down and up a couple of times to kind of lock my stitches I want to make that semicircle, and I'm going to go to where the next line stops. Then I want to go down to the center, stop where that intersection is, and come back up to the top in a semicircle. Remember, everything's semicircle. We'll continue to sew in this pattern. Do not sit in one place and sew, because then it'll break the thread. Just continue your semicircle. Look at where you're going, not so much where you've been. Each time you need to reposition, stop with your needle down. Get your needle going slowly. Keep it fluffed like we did before. You don't want the weight of that going against you. Here's our pumpkin seed border. This is what it looks like when you're done. I hope you've learned something from this episode, from the free motion quilting to the walking foot, and it may allow you to finish some of your quilts on your own. In the future, I'll show you a binding episode, how to find out an easy way to do mitered corners. Until then, happy quilting.